Now that we at long last have confirmation on when we'll see this new Batman game from WB Games Montreal, I thought it would be kind of fun to go back and look at some of these features that have been rumored for many years now, even back when it was originally going to be a Damian Wayne follow-up to Arkham Knight that has since, it sounds like, been reworked into a more traditional Bruce Wayne-led Batman game. But there's a lot of features that have been rumored, that have been leaked, that have even been reported from insiders like Sabi and Jason Schreier that I think would be interesting to go over. And so I'm going to go over 5 features that I would like to see in this new Batman game that have been heavily rumored. I hope that these have not been left on the cutting room floor, that at least 1 or 2 of them have persisted into this final game. And I don't think that that's really outside the realm of possibility. Even though they rebooted this Damian Wayne game into something else, there's still tons of potential that they kept a lot of the code, a lot of the assets, a lot of what they were originally going to use in this new Batman game as well. So I'm not saying that all 5 of these features have to be in the game, or even that any of them have to be in the game for it to be good. I just feel that having even 1 or 2 of them would really help in the way of reinventing the Arkham formula and really pushing the Batman games in a more innovative direction for the future and allowing us to experience playing as Batman on a much higher level than ever before. So the first feature that I'd like to mention is the nemesis system. So this is a feature that originated in the Middle-earth games. And I know that I have some subscribers who haven't played those, so just to very briefly explain how it works. You have encounters with enemies in that game, and if you run away from an encounter because you're losing health, if they run away from you and escape, if you defeat them, if they defeat you, the game will remember that. And then the next time you face that enemy, they will say something that reminds you of your last battle with them. So for example, you almost beat me, but I got away, or you were a coward, you ran away at the fort, but this time I'm going to beat you. And then that second time that you start fighting them, you'll realize that they have actually built up immunities against your playstyle. So if you were attacking them with ranged attacks previously, they will have gained an immunity to ranged attacks, and you have to find a different way to take them out. And I honestly think that this would work potentially even better in a Batman game because, first of all, you could add some variety. Maybe Mr. Freeze is part of the nemesis system, and in order to beat him, you need to craft a heat batarang or something. But additionally, Batman doesn't kill. This would be a stark contrast to Middle-earth. So in those games, when you kill your nemesis, they are donezo. But in a Batman game, let's say Penguin is your nemesis, and you defeat him and send him to Arkham Asylum. Later in the game, maybe 6 hours of, you playing story missions and stuff, he breaks out of Arkham Asylum and he is still your nemesis. And this would add a lot of replay value as well because you want to experience different nemesis enemies as Batman. So I think that this would be a really great feature that would pretty much double the amount of playtime that you could do if they did it right. Perhaps it could feed a little bit into the main story. I don't want them to sacrifice the linearity and structure that the main stories of the Batman games have had in the past for this feature, but they could perhaps have one of the final boss battles be whoever your nemesis is. So there's some clever ways that they could do it. Next up, I want to talk about a playable Bat family. The dual play system was really awesome in Arkham Knight, but unfortunately it was really underused and it felt very basic. They have had an opportunity, and I really hope that they've taken it to expand, perhaps even to tri-play. Maybe you can have encounters where you're Batman, Robin, and Batgirl, and you can play as all 3 of those individuals, taking down a room full of criminals. And I just think that the advancements that they could have made, maybe they could have added some new functionality and new mechanics to it. I really also feel like having them available in the open world or for traversal could be an interesting way to take it. And even if each character maybe had a side mission or 2 that was very specific to them. So, for example, Nightwing could have a side mission, Batgirl could have a side mission, and Robin could have a side mission. I just think that would be a really great way for us to get to know these characters a lot better, get more development on them, see some of their rivalries, and who knows, maybe with the Nemesis system, each of them could have a rival that you could establish. That could be an interesting way to go as well. Okay, so at number 3, I want to talk about the Batbike, and I don't really care which vehicle they choose to use. If the map is big enough that they want to do the Batwing, that would be freaking awesome. If they want to do the Batmobile again, just without tank mode, that's cool. If they want to do the Batboat, I truthfully don't care, but I just hope that they don't try to do too much in regards to vehicular combat, at least in what we knew as tank mode. I'm okay with the pursuit mode where you're launching missiles at cars that are non-lethal. That was all fun. It was just we didn't like all the puzzle solving and pretty much demoting a lot of things like boss battles to being in the Batmobile. With that said, I do think that having the Batmobile or the Batbike available for traversal would be a lot of fun. It would also be interesting to have the Batbike as opposed to the Batmobile. Maybe we'll have both. And actually what would be interesting is if different vehicles traverse different parts of the city better. So for example, maybe some of the more narrow areas were better accessible with the Batbike, but then some of the more wide open areas with skyscrapers are better equipped to be traversed with the Batmobile. They could have some variety and some flavor. Maybe each character has a different vehicle that they can use. I don't know exactly how it would work. I just think that there's some improvements that they can make. There's certain features that we don't necessarily need to see again, in all honesty. But I do think that finding a good balance between traversal and more traditional gameplay is required. Arkham Knight had a really heavy over-reliance on the Batmobile. It would be cool if there were like 2 or 3 really great Batmobile missions in the game, and other than that, it was just convenience from getting from point A to point B. Another feature that I think would be really cool is a day-night cycle, and this may seem kind of like a really bad idea for a Batman game to have moments that take place in the day, but even more broadly, just having the game not take place in one night would allow them to tell a story on a much bigger scope. You look at Spider-Man PS4 and the amount of character development that they were able to do, a lot of those character moments that they had with all the motion capture where you got to see Peter Parker, Mary Jane, Dr. Octavius. And I would really like this Batman game to get that kind of treatment. And who knows, maybe they could even evolve and push forward even a little bit more and have Mass Effect style choice systems where you get to make not super major decisions that drive the plot, but a few minor decisions that change the aesthetics or a few of the gameplay elements in the game. Maybe you can choose where to invest your money, and depending on who you invest in, it could change some of the accessibility that Bruce Wayne has to, different resources. I think by stretching out the length of the game in regards to it not taking place all in one night would allow these characters to be far more developed and interesting, and for the story to really mature over time. It doesn't all have to be completely bombastic because it's not all happening in one night. You could have slow build-up, or we get some of the more detective-style gameplay. And I honestly just think that allowing us to see what these characters are up to at the time of the game would be a great way for us to establish their characters a lot more and to kind of let the general audience who doesn't know these characters super well get to know them a lot better. And this could actually be a really good step in the right direction of pushing characters like Nightwing and Robin and Batgirl more into the mainstream. We've noticed with a lot of the Batman films recently that the Bat family has not been a topic that many directors seem to want to cover, and I think that it's because the mainstream just isn't as familiar with them and they aren't as high in demand. But if there's a Batman game that really showcases just how awesome these characters are, I, again, think that would just be really great. And this is something that Arkham Knight kind of struggled with. All of the Bat family members were there. We had Nightwing, Batgirl, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, all these guys. And they just didn't do anything to develop the characters or let the general audience know who they really were. So they were just kind of stand-ins. And I feel that this is an opportunity for Warner Brothers Games Montreal to do something that Rocksteady didn't. And this is actually kind of where they shined in Arkham Origins, was with some of that character development and seeing some of those story arcs come to fruition. Now, there's a lot of honorable mentions and other features that I could add to this list, such as the Court of Owls being the main villains. I think that would really throw a wrench in the traditional Joker's the main villain, and then you have a bunch of other A and B list villains kind of running around and all their plots intertwine. And there's nothing wrong with that model. I just think that this would be a way for us to explore kind of the root of Gotham's corruption and just be able to see everything through a much different lens, and especially if we have a lot of time to establish their presence in Gotham and all the characters. I just think that this would be a great narrative. But at number 1, I'm going to put customization. It was rumored that with this Damian Wayne Batman game that you would get to customize the Batcave. But additionally, I think it'd be cool if you could craft your own Batsuit and Batmobile even, and just really make it your Batman. One thing that I've always pushed with this game is that rather than be the Batman, the tagline should be your Batman. This game should allow you to operate as you would with Batman, and I think that the Nemesis system would be a great way to do that, but also customization. Where do you want to put the trophies in the Batcave? How do you want to customize where you are? How do you want to customize what you and your allies look like? So, honestly, I think that all of these features would be really great. Once again, I don't anticipate all of them being in there. Even if they are, I wouldn't necessarily expect them to be of the scope that I'm talking about here, but just having a few of those features to really innovate this franchise and really make you step into the shoes of Batman even more so than the Rocksteady games did. I just feel like this game has the opportunity to be the best Batman game of all time. They had Scott Snyder as a consultant on the story, so I feel like narratively it's probably really strong. They have Patrick Redding as the creative director who did Splinter Cell, so I think he's a perfect fit to sort of reinvent Batman. You have a lot of level designers from like BioShock and BioShock Infinite, and those are some of the most beautiful looking worlds that I've ever seen in a video game. So I just think that there's tons of potential. Let me know what features you guys would like to see in this game. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.